You scroll through social media and see groups of friends laughing together. You wonder what's wrong with you. But what if nothing is wrong? What if the reason you have few friends isn't a weakness, but a sign of something rare? You might think you're broken, but the truth is, you might just be wired differently than most people. There are 6 traits that psychologists have found in people who naturally keep small circles. And most people never develop even one of them. The first trait? It's something most people are actually afraid to have. But you might already have it without even knowing. Think about the last time someone invited you to a party. Did you feel excited? Or did something inside you resist? Most people would feel excited. They'd say yes right away. But you hesitated. That hesitation isn't random. It's not shyness. It's not fear. It's something deeper. While other people get energy from crowds, you get drained. While they need noise, you need silence. Society tells you this is a problem, that you should want to be around people all the time. But what if that voice inside you, the one that craves alone time, is actually protecting something valuable? The first rare trait has a name. And once you understand it, everything starts to make sense. The first trait is deep self-sufficiency. You don't need other people to feel complete. You're okay being alone with your own thoughts. You can spend a whole weekend by yourself and feel fine. Actually, you feel better than fine. You feel recharged. Most people panic when they're alone. They need constant texting, calling, hanging out. But not you. This doesn't mean you hate people. It means you've built a rich inner world that most people never discover. Psychologists call this secure attachment to yourself. It's rare because most people look outside for what you found inside. They need others to fill the emptiness. You've learned to fill it yourself. You've learned to enjoy your own company. And honestly, that scares some people. They don't understand how you can be happy alone. But here's what's interesting. This first trait actually leads to the second one, and it's even more misunderstood. You're in a group conversation. Everyone's talking and laughing, but you're mostly quiet, just watching. People might think you're shy, or boring, or not interested. But you're not any of those things. You're doing something they can't even see. While they're talking, you're noticing things. Little details. The way someone's voice changes when they lie. How someone looks away when they're uncomfortable. The tension between two people that nobody else picks up on. Most people are so busy talking. They miss everything happening beneath the surface. But you see it all. You've always been like this. Even as a kid, you were the one watching, thinking, processing. While other kids played loudly, you stood back and observed. People thought you were quiet. But really, you were studying the world. Learning how people work. Understanding patterns that others missed completely. This isn't just observation. It's a specific psychological trait that only a small percentage of people have naturally. The second trait is hyper-awareness. You pick up on things other people completely miss. Body language, tone of voice, energy shifts in a room. You know when someone's upset before they say anything. You feel tension that others don't notice. When someone says they're fine, but they're not, you know immediately. This can be exhausting, because you're always processing information that others ignore. Your brain never really turns off. It's constantly reading, analyzing, understanding what's really happening beneath what people say. And this is why small talk feels so draining. You're aware of the fakeness, the surface-level stuff, the things people aren't saying. While everyone else is comfortable with shallow conversations, you're drowning in the awareness of how empty they are. It's hard to make friends when you can see through everything. When you know most conversations are just noise, just people filling silence without saying anything real. But hyper-awareness creates another problem, one that makes friendships even more complicated. Because when you see this much, you start to need something most people never even think about. You've probably been called picky about friends. Maybe you've even felt bad about it. Other people can become friends with someone after one conversation. But you need time. Lots of time. You don't just let anyone in. You watch. You wait. You test the waters slowly. People might say you're too selective, too judgmental, too closed off. They don't understand why you can't just relax and make friends easily like everyone else. But what if being selective isn't a flaw? What if it's actually a form of intelligence? There's a reason you can't just be friends with anyone. And it's not about being mean or stuck up. It's not about thinking you're better than other people. It's about protecting something precious, your time, your energy, your emotional space. It's about knowing that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. And that's something psychologists have studied for decades, something that separates deep thinkers from everyone else. The third trait explains why you'd rather have one real friend than 100 fake ones. The third trait is authenticity hunger. You crave real connections, not surface-level chit-chat, not fake smiles. Real, honest, deep conversations. You'd rather talk about life, fear, dreams, and weird thoughts than talk about the weather or what you did last weekend. You want to know what keeps someone up at night, what they're afraid of, what they really think about when they're alone. And because most people avoid deep conversations, you end up having very few friends. Because you refuse to settle for shallow. You refuse to waste your time pretending to care about things that don't matter. This isn't being difficult. This is having standards for your emotional energy. You know that every friendship takes effort, takes time, takes pieces of your heart. So you're careful about who you give those pieces to. Psychologists say this trait is linked to something called existential awareness. You know life is short, so you don't waste it on fake connections. You'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who only know the surface version of you. Now, these first three traits already explain a lot. But the next one? It's the trait people misunderstand the most. And it might be the reason people have hurt you in the past. Think about a time someone called you too sensitive. Maybe they said you overthink. Or you take things too personally. Those words stuck with you, made you feel broken, like something was wrong with the way you feel. You tried to toughen up, to care less, to let things roll off your back like other people seem to do so easily. But it never worked. When someone says something harsh, you feel it deeply. When a friendship ends, it stays with you for months, sometimes years. Other people seem to bounce back so quickly. They move on. They don't look back. And you wonder why you can't do that. You wonder why everything affects you so much. Why you can't just stop caring and move on like everyone else. But what if being sensitive isn't weakness? What if it's actually a superpower most people don't have? The reason isn't weakness. The reason is that you're built differently on a neurological level. Your brain processes things in a way that most brains don't. The fourth trait has a scientific name. And once you learn it, you'll understand why friendships have always felt so intense for you. The fourth trait is emotional depth. You don't just feel emotions, you feel them bigger, longer, and stronger than most people. Research shows some people's brains process emotions differently. The feelings hit harder and last longer. It's not a choice. It's how you're wired. When you care about someone, you care all the way. When you're hurt, you hurt completely. When you love deeply. There's no casual mode for you. No halfway feelings. Everything is intense and real and overwhelming sometimes. This means you can't have casual friends. Because you invest too much. You feel too much. You care too much. Even when you try to keep things light, your emotions pull you deeper. You start caring about people before you mean to. And when people don't match your emotional depth, it feels lonely. Like you're the only one who really cares. Like you're always giving more than you're getting. You're not broken. You just feel things most people have learned to numb. Most people protect themselves by feeling less. But you can't do that. You feel everything. But emotional depth creates another challenge. One that makes keeping friends even harder. Because when you feel this deeply, you need something from people that most can't give. You've probably noticed something about yourself. You don't trust people quickly. Someone can be nice to you once, twice, even 10 times. But you're still watching. Still waiting to see if they'll change. People might call you guarded, skeptical, hard to get close to. They say you have walls up, that you don't let people in. And maybe that's true. But there's a reason for those walls. Maybe you've been hurt before. Maybe people have let you down, promised things and disappeared, said they'd be there and weren't. So now you test people, not on purpose, not meanly, but you watch to see if they stay consistent. You notice if they remember what they said last week. You pay attention to whether their actions match their words. And when people fail the test, when they're nice one day and cold the next, you pull away. You protect yourself. Because you've learned that people are often unreliable. They say one thing and do another. They're there when it's convenient and gone when it's not. But is this really a trust issue? Or is it something else entirely? The fifth trait isn't about being untrusting. It's about having a psychological standard most people never develop. The fifth trait is integrity radar. You can sense when people's words don't match their actions. You notice inconsistency like a spotlight in the dark. Someone says they'll call. They don't. Most people forget. But you remember. Because inconsistency bothers you deeply. It's not about keeping score. It's about seeing the truth of who people really are. You notice when someone talks about honesty but lies about small things. When they say loyalty matters but gossip behind people's backs. When they claim they're busy but post pictures out with other friends. These things jump out at you. And this isn't being petty. This is having a strong internal compass for what's real and what's fake. You value integrity because you live with integrity. You do what you say. You show up when you promise. You're consistent even when it's hard. And this is why you have few friends. Because most people are inconsistent. They mean well but don't follow through. They care when it's easy and disappear when it's not. You'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who don't keep their word. Psychologists link this trait to high personal integrity. You hold yourself to standards, so you hold others to them too. Now, these 5 traits already make friendships challenging. But there's one more trait, and it's the one that explains everything. The 6th trait is different from the others. It's deeper, more fundamental. If you have this trait, it explains why all the other 5 exist. It's like the root of everything. And here's what's strange. Most people spend their whole lives never developing it. They're too distracted, too busy, too afraid to look at what's really there. You've probably felt this trait since you were young. Maybe you ask questions other kids didn't ask. Questions about death, about why we're here, about what happens after we die. Questions that made adults uncomfortable. Maybe you thought about things that seemed too big or too dark for a child to think about. While other kids played without worry, you wondered about meaning. This 6th trait is the reason you feel different. The reason you don't fit in. The reason friendships feel so complicated. Because once you have this trait, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to simple. You can't pretend that surface-level living is enough. Psychologists say this trait is found in less than 20% of the population. And it changes everything about how you see the world. The 6th and final rare trait is something philosophers have studied for thousands of years. The 6th trait is existential awareness. You think about life, death, meaning, and purpose more than most people. Not just sometimes, regularly. While other people are worried about what to watch on Netflix, you're wondering why we're here at all, what it all means, whether anything really matters. These thoughts don't scare you away. They pull you in. You can't help but think deeply about existence itself. This makes friendships hard because most people don't think this way. They live on the surface. They avoid big questions. They fill their time with distractions so they don't have to face the deeper truths. But you can't do that. You can't turn your brain off. You can't just stop overthinking like people tell you to. And this awareness makes small talk feel meaningless, makes shallow friendships feel empty. When someone complains about their coffee order being wrong, you're thinking about mortality. When they're stressed about a TV show ending, you're contemplating the temporary nature of everything. This is why you need deep conversations, why you crave authenticity, why you're so selective. Because you're aware of how short life is, how precious time is, how rare real connection is. You're not weird. You're not broken. You're existentially aware, and that's rare. So what does all this mean for your life? Let's step back. You have deep self-sufficiency, hyper-awareness, authenticity hunger, emotional depth, integrity radar, and existential awareness. No wonder you have few friends. You're not designed for shallow connections. You're built for depth. What you thought was loneliness It might actually be selectivity. What felt like rejection. It might be your standards protecting you. Most people collect friends like trophies. They count numbers. They measure popularity. But you're looking for something real, something rare, something most people don't even know exists. Yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, it's hard watching other people have easy friendships while you struggle to find even one person who gets you. But it's also honest. You're not pretending. You're not faking connections that don't exist. You're not wasting your life on relationships that don't feed your soul. You'd rather have one friend who truly gets you than 100 who don't know you at all. And that's not a flaw. That's integrity. That's courage. That's refusing to settle for less than what you deserve. So where does this leave you? Right where you need to be. Alone sometimes, yes, but honest always. If you recognize yourself in these 6 traits, you're part of a small group. The deep thinkers. The quiet observers. The ones who refuse to settle. Stop apologizing for having few friends. Stop forcing yourself into social situations that drain you. Stop pretending to be someone you're not just to fit in with people who will never really understand you. You're allowed to be selective. You're allowed to want depth. You're allowed to protect your energy. You're allowed to say no to friendships that feel wrong even if you can't explain why. The right people, the ones who match your depth, they're out there. They're rare, but they exist. And when you find them, one real friendship will feel better than a dozen fake ones ever could. When you meet someone who thinks like you, who feels like you, who sees the world like you, you'll know it was worth the wait. Having few friends isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that you know what you want, and you're willing to wait for it. That's not loneliness. That's wisdom. And that's rare. So keep being you. Keep holding your standards. Keep waiting for the real thing. Because you deserve nothing less.